Frequent flyers of this channel are probably familiar with Dungeon World, D&D's friend who hangs out with theater kids. But did you know that Dungeon World has a twin brother? One who likes to smoke cigarettes, wear leather jackets, listen to 80s metal music, and has a disturbing amount of knowledge about age of consent laws in the United States. But what actually... But what do you call this Le Wrong Generation twin brother? Well, he goes by World of Dungeons, or WODU for short. Now, what actually is World of Dungeons? Well, to quote Dungeon World's Kickstarter from 2012, World of Dungeons is a complete short role-playing game that answers the question, if Dungeon World was the latest version of a classic role-playing game, what would the original look like? Honestly, I love that premise. And whenever Sage or whoever calls WODU short, they mean short. This game has a grand total of 6 pages, 2 of which are character sheets, 1 of which is just a list of names, and half of which is just some artwork of some very creepy looking goblins. The game offers 5 base classes, and you will never guess what they are. Fighters, thieves, clerics, wizards, rangers. There's the classic 6 attributes of strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. And the way that you determine your attributes is so freaking PBTA pilled, I love it. You roll 2d6 for each attribute. On a 6 or lower, you get a 0. On a 7 through 9, you get +1. On a 10 or 11, you get +2. And on a 12, you get +3. Standard array, I'm making all of my players for Dungeon World do this from here on out. Then the players get to choose one of what I call core skills, things like athletics, deception, stealth. They get 1 free choice and they get 1 that comes with their class. So fighters get athletics and a skill of their choice, thieves get stealth and a skill of their choice, rangers get survival and a skill of their choice. You get the idea. The applicability of skills is largely up to you and your DM to figure out. The only thing the pamphlet really says is that when you use a skill, you can't miss, which more on that later. Moving on, the rules around hit points are really confusing and poorly written. Every character starts the game with between 1 and 4 hit dice. The amount of dice depends on your constitution modifier and is not your maximum amount of HP. According to the book, roll all your hit dice and keep a number equal to your level to determine your HP. Now, this sounds really confusing to my dumbass because this makes it sound like a level 1 character can only have 1 HP at a time. A level 2 character can have a max of 2 HP, etc., etc. But a little bit of Googling reveals that what it actually means is that like a level 1 character with 0 constitution gets to roll 1 hit dice, so 1d6, and then they get to keep the results of that 1d6. A level 1 character with +2 constitution gets to roll 3d6s, so 3 hit dice, and then they get to choose one of those dice's results to be their max HP. So my level 1 thief with a constitution of 2 gets to roll 3 hit dice. For the purposes of this example, we'll say that he rolled a 4, 5, and 2. My thief gets to pick the 5. If he was level 2, I would get to choose 2 of those results. So I would pick the 4 and 5, and my hit points would be 9. Does that sort of make sense? I know, it's incredibly confusing. Rests and consuming rations let you re-roll your hit dice, which means that your maximum HP can be a little bit fluid. So for like a level 3 character, it could be as high as 18, or it could be as low as 3. My producers tell me this is very old school and very cool. But wait, I hear you cry out, how do you actually play the game? Well, there's no actual guidance for how a DM should run a game of World of Dungeons. There's nothing about setting up a campaign, there's no monster manual. It's pretty much up to the most invested person in the group, which is the DM, to figure all of this out on their own. In fact, there's only 3 sections of this 6-page pamphlet that tell you how to actually play the game. The first tells you that players roll 2d6 whenever they are attempting something risky. It's up to the DM to decide when an action is considered risky. If a player rolls a 6 or less, they fail and the risk goes poorly. However, if you have the related skill to whatever you're trying to do, it means that you can't fail, so you only partially succeed. But wait, what does partially succeed mean? A 7 through 9 is a partial success. You accomplish your goals, but at a cost. A 10 or 11 is a full success. You get to do whatever it is you're trying to do with no complications, everything goes smoothly. And a 12 is a critical success, which means you get everything you're trying to do, plus a little bit more. In other words, it works like every other Powered by the Apocalypse game ever, with the exception of critical successes, which I personally use in my home games. Now, the second bit of knowledge that this micro game imparts upon you is the Die of Fate. Sometimes the GM will roll the Die of Fate to see how the situation is established. Low numbers are ill fortune, high numbers are good fortune. The Die of Fate might be rolled to establish the weather, indicate a random NPC's general attitude, or to determine if a wandering monster appears. The GM may also roll the Die of Fate if the PCs take some action for which sheer chance is the only factor in the outcome. It doesn't even tell you what die to use, presumably a D6. Finally, there's a small blurb underneath the level up table that tells you that players get 1 XP for every silver piece worth of treasure they manage to get from the dungeon. It also tells DMs to award between 10 and 200 XP whenever the party kills a monster or completes a quest, depending on the difficulty of the thing. And that's pretty much everything that World of Dungeons tells you about.
But what about magic and spell casting?
Oh, cheese and rice, I hate wizards. Magic in wodu is interesting. Wizards get 3 cantrips: Candle, Shadow, and Throw Voice. It's up to you and the DM to decide what those 3 cantrips actually do. All the other spellcasting in the game comes in the form of summoning spirits. Specifically, wizards get 2 spirits to summon. They get to name them, describe what they look like, and choose 2 domains that the spirit is in control of. So like Shadow, or Fire, or Secrets. Once a spirit is summoned, the wizard can command it to perform a single magical spell that falls within its domains. The book doesn't have any spells listed, so it's up to the player and the DM to figure out what spells the spirits can cast. Magic attacks do 2d6 plus your level for damage. And that, my friends, is everything that this book tells you about how to actually play the game.
But what about combat rules?
Nothing. Races? Figure it out. Monsters? You're gonna have to come up with those yourself, buddy. The only other bits of knowledge that you're gonna get from this PDF are a list of equipment, which does include how much damage various weapons do. It gives you a list of hirelings, and it gives you a very extensive list of names. And that is it. While I personally don't mind the bare bones nature of the rules, there are definitely going to be some people who are really bothered by it. The game doesn't tell you how to DM, it doesn't give you any specific combat rules, but is this really a game about combat? Am I just huffing copium because this is 6 pages with not much there? I don't really know. I was originally gonna say that this rule set is clearly intended for like an old school hack and slash dungeon delving kind of experience, but it's so bare bones, you could really hack it into whatever you want. Personally, there's other role-playing games that I would rather try, but the folks in the community wanted to see me do a video on this.
What are your thoughts on World of Dungeons? Leave them in the comments.
Now, if you watch this whole video and you're like, gee, I want to learn more about old school role-playing, you should click right here. This is a very old video that I'm linking to. I'm kind of a dick to 5e players, so I apologize for that in advance. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.